What is Asheville Strong? In this video, I'll share a perspective that may surprise you. My journey in Asheville really began when I owned a wine store back in Omaha, Nebraska, and we were going to get into craft beer. And somebody said, well, if you're going to get into craft beer, you have got to go to Asheville. And I'd never heard of Asheville before. So made a visit here and loved it. I knew from the moment I arrived that I was going to live in Asheville, just from the vibe, the mountains. It was so beautiful. God created so much beauty. And the vibe of the people were just, you can just tell there was something about the people that was very welcoming and loving, I would say. So, long story short, found a house, and my good friends, the Crewmans, because I had owned the wine store, so I had a bunch of wine when I was going to move out here, and the movers wouldn't take it. So they came out in advance to bring my wine and bring my Jeep. So we put a U-Haul with the wine, and they brought the Jeep out. And so they got to hang out in Asheville. Well, they came back and they said, okay, Robert, yeah, Asheville needs Jesus, but it's not the church kind of Jesus. It's your kind of Jesus. So that's what they told me. So that was my first experience, their perspective on Asheville. And once I got here, that was confirmed for me. One of the first things I did was go around Asheville and find some love places and spaces, part of our community. So I went to all the coffee shops and all the breweries in town that I could find. And I kind of rated them. And for this vibe, for this feeling, this presence, when you walk in a place, you know how it is. You walk in someplace, you're like, oh, yeah, this is a cool place. So there were lots of amazing places. And if you're interested in that, we've got it as part of our community. You can, if you're visiting Asheville, you can access the love places and spaces here in Asheville. And this list is continuing to change. So there's a lot of that good vibe in these places, in these people of Asheville. So that was kind of the second. This is the way I'm describing Asheville Strong. It is this vibe, this love vibe, I would say. So of course I sought it out. And in my world, of course, Jesus is love. It's not about religion, it's not about church, it's about Jesus and what he taught and who he was. So the other cool thing about Asheville Strong for me is people here are searching. Okay, they're not apathetic. They're not polarized necessarily. They're searching. They're curious. There's a lot of new age folks around here. I was a new age kid. My mom was in astrology and tarot cards and channels and all of that kind of stuff. So I grew up in that most of my life. That was my influence. I never really jumped into it, but that was kind of my background. Well, that's what I'll say about Asheville and the strength is it's not apathy. It's not woe is me, the world is falling. It's no, I'm searching for something more. And that is so powerful to be in a place where people are searching. We don't have to agree on how we're searching or what we're choosing to believe in, right? That's not the point. It isn't to disagree and try to convince other people to agree or not. You just want to be able to be in a space where people are searching and you can have thoughtful conversations. I go to coffee shop, Odds Cafe. It's amazing. And we've got a very unique group of people that, and it's not planned necessarily. We just sit down at this one table and we've all gotten to know each other. And we have great conversations. And it's this searching out and sharing. So I always say, open and curious. You want to be around people who are open and curious. So that is another point about Asheville Strong. And then these people here in Asheville, and I'm one of them now, are people oriented. That's why you have the hospitality that you have here. Yes, it's a big tourist area because a lot of people come to visit this area for its beauty. So I think, when you're in that industry, the customer service industry. I started off as a waiter right out of college. So, and I loved it. It was the best job ever because you figure out how to relate to people, how to connect with people. And that's what we have in Asheville. People who are people oriented, people who I think are compassionate, right? That's the key. Compassion is so important. So we can relate to each other. And then we can say, okay, let's go. Let's Compassion involves taking action. It isn't staying stuck. And people here are oriented to taking action, whatever it may be. And when you're in that kind of environment, that is where the strength comes in. Okay, those, you think about it, those are the kind of people Jesus sought out. He sought out people who were, you know, they weren't the righteous people of their day. They were all kinds of folks. But Jesus, they came to Jesus because they were seeking more. And Jesus provided a hope. Even the word of Jesus, as it spread, it provided hope for people. So people came out to see him when he came through their town, or they followed him where he went. And that's what it is. It is all about hope. So if you think about it, as I've described this whole story here, you can see where I feel like, and I believe that revival is coming to Asheville. And it's not about church. So I want to make that perfectly clear. It's about Jesus. It's about following Jesus. Jesus never commissioned, started a church. Never did. He just walked around, people followed him. Early days, it was people would meet in houses and, wherever they could to meet and learn what Jesus taught and to emphasize it with each other and to follow him. Okay, so people, you may have had bad experiences with church. Well, you think about it, that's logical because churches are governed by people and people are going to screw things up. Simple as that. Okay, there's a lot of power that can come through the church structure. A lot of times you see churches end up being more like businesses than what they probably, the original intent when Paul, the Acts church and all that stuff, the original churches, and then what Paul did later, you can see where it evolved. And whenever people are involved, it can go astray. But don't confuse that with God. Those of you that know me well, that was a sentence that changed my life. Well, Robert, there's religion and there's God. That sentence changed my life. It's transformative. So my next point about Asheville Strong and where this came from, what started showing up after the flood that happened, Hurricane Helene, the devastation. And think about it, it's back to Genesis in the Bible. My friend Tim said this, Jesus, it started with the water first. Everything was covered in water. And then we had the land rise up. So that's what's happening now in Asheville. It's a reset for Asheville. And I believe that, again, a revival is coming, a Jesus revival. And it's just a powerful knowing that I sense. It isn't going to be, out on the streets and yelling and screaming and doing all this stuff. It's just like this undercurrent. And as this city rises back up after the devastation, it's going to be different. Of course, it's going to be different, but I think it's going to be more love expanded. The love of Jesus is coming up out of the struggle from Hurricane Helene. So, what do we do after a tragedy like that? The people that are open and curious, the people that are searching, are going to use that struggle, right? Because struggles refine us, trials refine us. They're going to use that to refine not only themselves, but this city. I cannot wait to be a part of everything that's going to happen here in Asheville. So subscribe with the notification bell to receive regular updates. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button to see more like this. Comment down below. This can be with questions or answers to a question that you ask. We'll see you next time on this journey from isolation to community, where the next step beyond is freedom.